What's up, everybody? I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and welcome to another video on the Right Mindset channel. Today, we are going to go over epic fantasy writing prompts, creating, as you can see, strong characters. So these are writing prompts to help you practice and work on creating strong characters. The video will go over how to explore. We'll explore how to actually create the strong and memorable characters. And we'll start by providing 3 writing prompts that will help you create unique characters for your story. Let's get started. All right. If you're new here and or you've been here for some time and you haven't done so yet, please click the subscribe button. Please subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. Especially if you're into lessons on the craft, learning a little bit about the industry, and watching interviews with fellow authors and learning a little bit of what. Anyway, let's get into it. Again, today's show is about we're actually going to give you some writing prompts for epic fantasy writing to create strong characters. Let's do prompt number 1. Boop. All right. So as you can see, here it is. Boom. Right on the screen. It's ready for you. It's ready for me, right? So, your character has been prophesized. Oh, by the way, the prompt number 1 is prophecy. The prophecy. Your character has been prophesized to save the kingdom from an evil force. However, they don't believe in prophecies and have no interest in becoming a hero. How do they react when they find out their fate? All right. So, your character has been prophesized to save the kingdom, right? So this prompt allows you to give yourself a chance. You know, where would you take this? By the way, we're going to go over specific goals, and I'm going to give you tips to overcome those common challenges of these prompts. But we're going to go over the 3 prompts first, just so you can see them. But in this situation, your prompt is: your character has been prophesied to save the kingdom from an evil force. However, they don't believe in prophecies and have no interest in becoming a hero. How do they react when they find out their fate? So there's a couple of things here, actually. The first sentence is your character has been prophesied to save the kingdom from an evil force. This is basically the setup, your Act 1. However, they don't believe in prophecies and have no interest in becoming a hero. So this is sort of like their position, right? This is their opposition to the story. It's their pushback before they jump into Act 2. So this is all about setting up your Act 1. And then how they react when they find out their fate. Basically, you know, they're living their life, doing their thing. And then all of a sudden someone says, hey, you've been prophesied to save the kingdom from evil forces. That's the inciting incident. And they're like, no, I'm not interested in that. And ultimately, they have to react to that inciting incident. So that's your prompt. Something to keep in mind. You know, how do we take this and, make it what you want to make it? What kind of characters? Think about that, right? Think about the character. Why would they not care about these prophecies? You know, prophecies don't exist. So who are they? How would they react? Think of these things, these elements, and create whatever you want. It's your story. Again, this is just practice. You're not trying to create a full-on story. You're just trying to create this character. Because remember, we're creating a strong character. So we want to really understand why, and how are they the actual prophesized hero that saves the kingdom from the evil forces? What is it about them, their existence, their lineage? What is the prophesized idea to save the kingdom? And how does that relate to your character? I'm sorry. I just I'm doing these videos fairly early. I normally don't get up until like, 11:30, 12 as a writer, and I've been up since like 8. My brain is like, whoop. Anyway, so you want to know, this is a little inside depth to who they are. This is their position, where they stand. And you want to work on that and try to figure out, why. And by the way, it could be more. It could be deeper than that. They don't believe in prophecies and have no interest in becoming a hero. Maybe it's a little deeper than that. Taking that as just the prompt and going, maybe they did believe in prophecies. Maybe they did believe one day they would become the hero, but something happened that kind of pushed them back. And there you go. And how do they react when they find out their fate? They're just, right? Anyway. Okay. So that's going to bring us to the second prompt. The traitor. All right, the traitor is, one of your main characters has been secretly working for the enemy all along. Who is it? And what is their motivation for betraying their friends? Again, you could take this prompt. So we know that, have they been friends and then they became the enemy? Were they friends and then they decided they believed in the enemy because their friend wasn't doing right? Did they, maybe it's a treasonous thing. Maybe they're like, well, I believe more in our country, or I believe in our kingdom, or I believe in whatever. Or maybe it's a romance, maybe they're helping their friend try to get the relationship going with this other person, but in reality, they end up liking the person. Therefore, they are the enemy, and they mess everything up behind the scenes. There's so many things you could do with this. Have fun with it. Play around with it. So forth and so on. All right. And then the third prompt is the outsider. All right. The outsider says, your character is an outsider who is forced to navigate the complex politics of the kingdom. How do they deal with the challenges of fitting in and earning the trust of those around them? Fish out of water, right? You want to think about, so they're forced to navigate the complex politics of the kingdom. So how were they forced into it? What led them there? Did they have a choice? No, because they were forced. So figure out why they were forced, how they were forced, and how they dealt with it emotionally is how they deal with the challenges of fitting in and earning the trust of those around them. Pretty straightforward prompts. All right, this brings us to our specific goals. Here are some specific goals for you to strive for as you work on your characters. Make sure your characters have unique motivations and desires that drive their actions through the story. What's going on here? There we go. Instead of having a character motivated by revenge or love, try to think of a more unique motivation. For example, perhaps your character is motivated by a desire to protect a specific piece of land or a particular cultural tradition. Make sure your character's motivations and desires are clear to the reader. That's important. Consider including a scene or dialogue that helps to establish why your character is acting a certain way. That's important. Think about how your character's motivations might change over time. Perhaps they start off with one goal, but as they encounter new goals, their priorities shift. Personally, I would try to avoid stereotypes and cliches in your character development. Instead of relying on traditional gender or racial stereotypes, try to create characters that subvert those expectations. For example, perhaps your female character is a skilled warrior, or your male character is a talented healer and more reserved, right? The male character is more reserved. Doesn't mean that they're not masculine or they're not strong characters. internally. It just means they choose. Oh, a good example is what's that movie Mel Gibson made with the Mel Gibson film where the guy would not kill. I think it's Hacksaw. Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge. The character in there refuses. It's based on a true story too. They refuse to kill anyone to carry a gun. Their job was just to be a medic and to help people and get people to safety. And again, that's a strong character, strong resolve, strong position, strong morals, and no matter what, doesn't break down. So again, not being strong physically or not being strong as a warrior doesn't make a character not strong. It doesn't make them weak. A strong character is based on their choices, their perseverance, their resolve. Even if they're a coward, but they have certain strengths within them for certain resolves. And their characters are still working through things and developing and processing stuff. They have the potential to be a strong character. I would also avoid using overused character archetypes such as the wise old mentor or the plucky sidekick. Instead, try to create unique and memorable characters that stand out from the crowd. Consider how your character's personality and traits might interact with other characters in the story. For example, if your character is very stubborn, how might that impact their relationships with other characters? I would like to also say, consider how your character's backstories and experiences shape their personality and worldview. I'm not saying you have to write out every single thing of their history, like all the things they went through, but try to get a general understanding and idea of their upbringing and their backstory and their experience. Because who we are is what we do, and what we do is based on our choices, how we grow up, the things we learn, the things we see. There's an old when I took a psychology class, one of the things they brought up was the tale of the twins, right? So one twin was this wealthy, successful business person, and the other twin was in prison for a double homicide. And a reporter went to the person in prison and was like, "Why are you in jail for a double homicide? And your twin is successful." And they said, "Well, why don't you look at my father? Ask my father." Then they go to the wealthy person and they say the same thing. You're wealthy and your twin is in a prison for double homicide. Why do you think that is? Why are you successful and they're not? And they go, "Well, why don't you ask my father? Why don't you look at my father?" And it's because their upbringing, the things they saw and how they adjusted is all unique to ourselves. And so that's important to know about character development is we develop on the page to the reader through our choices as characters, or I should say your characters develop on the pages through their choices for the reader. However, to get to those points is to get to the positions that they have in their head, their morals, their missions, their purposes. Mission is external, purpose is internal. Morals are basically how you do things. Okay, so if you have the certain morals, you might not kill. If you have certain morals, you might not steal. If you have certain morals, you might not lie. Right? Anyway, these things are developed through your upbringing and through your history. Does that mean you can't change? Usually, characters don't really change greatly when it comes to their core, but it doesn't mean they can't change morally or can't change their missions or can't change their purpose. Their choices are usually going to be pretty solid in who they are. The changes would probably come to the internal reasoning behind it. So if you want to change a character's internal choice, like how they choose things, you have to really challenge their positions and let them see something that makes them, but you also have to prove that they're capable of change. Right? Right? So these are things that you get to do when you play around with characters. You might even want to think about how your character's childhood and how it might have influenced their behavior as an adult. For example, perhaps a child who grew up in poverty is more likely to be resourceful and scrappy. Consider how your character's cultural background might shape their values and beliefs. For example, a character from a society that values honor above all else might act very differently than a character from a society that values individual freedoms and anarchy. All right. And finally, but not last, think about how your character's experience throughout the story itself might change their worldviews when they are challenged. For example, perhaps a character who starts off as a cynical loner learns to trust and rely on others as the story progresses. And real quick, tips to overcome common challenges. One that I don't really agree with, but some people really like this one, is you can conduct a character interview to help you get to know your characters better. I personally don't like doing that one. What I like doing is I like to think about the relationships between your characters and how those relationships affect the story. I like to try to find what character flaws and conflicts are within the character to create tension and drive that helps push the plot forward. So when I'm creating character, the first thing I do is try to figure out their foundation, their position, and their purpose and their mission. So basically, why is this character in this story? What are they trying to do? What's the opposition to that? What keeps them from doing it? What's their conflict? And then basically, who are they fundamentally? Like what are their emotional stakes, etc., etc. What are their positions? And once I start learning their positions on things, it starts dictating their choices. Then what I like to do is when I'm doing my zero draft outline. So basically, I have a short form outline, then I have an extended outline, and then I have what's basically like a zero draft outline, where I take that extended outline and I start really doing scene work, and I start playing with it. And that's when I start changing out, where chapters begin, where they end, sections, hard chapter breaks. Maybe I'll change some important narrative plot points based on the movement of this zero draft and this discovery, taking information I have, but then playing with it. And while I'm doing that through dialogue and through choices, I'm really learning the characters. I try to base it off of what I already have as a foundation for them, but I'll allow the story to kind of mold it and hone it. Sort of like taking a nice rock, but then throwing it into a grinder, that a polishing rock, where and it comes out and it's beautiful. I allow the discovery through my zero draft, playing with my extended outline, to help polish the characters based on the choices, the situations I put them in, and the challenges to those choices. And I ultimately get what I get. Guess that's it. So it's gonna bring me to my final thoughts. It's my favorite part. Final thoughts. All right. Creating strong and memorable characters is a vital aspect of epic fantasy writing. Throughout this video, we explored 3 writing prompts that can assist you in crafting unique characters for your stories. Prompt number 1, which was the prophecy, delves into the journey of a character who doesn't believe in prophecies but is destined to save the kingdom. Prompt number 2 was the traitor. Prompt number 2 challenges you to reveal a traitor among your main characters, exploring their motivations for betraying their friends. And prompt number 3, the outsider. Prompt number 3 explores the struggles of an outsider navigating the complex politics of a kingdom and earning the trust of those around them. Look, to ensure your characters shine, we discuss specific goals to strive for during character development. For example, crafting unique motivations and desires that drive your characters' actions is crucial. This is their mission. All right? The motivations And desires, I mean, are their purpose. So it's their motivate. It's their inside them. It's their internal motivations and desires. We talked about avoiding stereotypes and cliches such as traditional gender or racial expectations. Allows for compelling and authentic characters when you start taking things and playing with them. If there is a cliche or a stereotype and it's something you're drawn to naturally, and you're like, here it is on his thing, start breaking it apart, start challenging some of those stereotypes or cliches for that character to develop a unique perspective, and it might stand out as different than what the cliche initially pushed on people. You also want to consider how your character's backstory and experiences shape their personality and worldview, which will add depth to their development. Overall, you want to overcome common challenges in character development, which involves conducting character in-depth research, okay? Understanding their deeper thoughts, their feelings, and their histories. You want to explore the relationships between your characters and utilize their flaws, conflicts, uh, and any challenges you push to their choices to create tension and drive the plot forward. Can enhance the richness of the story. Real quick, tension doesn't always mean fighting. Tension is just different points of views. For example, in JFK, the movie with Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner's character wanted to reveal the truth no matter what the cost was to the government, and then his fellow officers, people that were working with him, some of them were like, "No, we can't, we can't, we'll lose the trust and confidence of the people if they learn the truth of their government. So we shouldn't really reveal the truth to the world. It's something we should explore." And obviously, um, the way they think is, we should bring the light what's going on, but internally, to government and stuff like that, and challenge the government. But I don't think the people should know. And they're both striving to learn the truth, but they have different positions, and that creates tension. They don't necessarily fight over it. They're not punching each other and not trying to stop one another, but their choices are based on that tension. All right. And remember, whether you're a beginner or an advanced writer, the journey of creating strong characters is an ongoing process. Embrace the uniqueness of your characters, allow them to evolve, and ensure their actions and motivations resonate with your readers by making their choices earned. Don't allow them to make choices based on what you need the narrative to do. Allow the choices to be based on what they would do as characters. And by the way, their choices might put you in a situation where you have to write them out of danger, because some characters make choices that aren't really necessarily conducive to a good story or narrative, or putting other characters at ease. Sometimes it puts them in danger, and it's your job to write them out of that. Okay. Next video in this series will be epic fantasy writing prompts that help you with world building. We will then also explore 3 writing prompts for world building, and of course, some rules and ideas to help you through it. Question? Do you have writer prompt ideas? What are they? Let us know in the comments below. Let's share and care and elevate the community. All right. If you liked watching this video, if you liked what you watched and you haven't done so already, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out. Thank you so much for that. And as always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. I love you. Bye. Wait, where's the button? It's right there, Thomas. Oh, thanks. I talked to myself.